You went live yet?
I'm live now.
All right.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Black Brain Trust. This is episode 152, Space and Technology. I'm here with my co-facilitator, Lionel.
Hello, everyone. How you all doing today? How you doing today, Mike?
I'm good, brother. Yourself?
I am well.
For those of you coming into the chat, please hit the like button as you come in. There is a docket in the description beneath the video. We'll give you all about 30 seconds before we get started. Travaris Wiley, what's going on? Peace. All right, so first article, CoinTelegraph.com. Ride-sharing app Lyft partners with blockchain startup to tokenize healthcare transport. Ride-sharing app Lyft has partnered with blockchain startup Solve.care to tokenize healthcare-related transport arrangements. The development was announced in a press release from Solve.care on March 4th. Estonia-based Solve.care is a decentralized blockchain-powered platform that focuses on embracing healthcare administration and access to healthcare services for users and insurers. The partnership with Lyft will allow Solve.care users to schedule Lyft rides to doctor clinics and hospitals and pharmacies with automated payments using native utility token Solve via their Solve.care digital wallets. Payment for rides can be shared with family, employers, insurers, and other parties. The service will also allow patients to flexibly coordinate their trips, arrival times, and any needed assistance with their contacts. Solve.care CEO Pradeep Goel said the partnership with Lyft can help the blockchain healthcare platform to improve patient satisfaction through timely access to care, reduce wait times, and simply cost sharing and access to transportation subsidies. Blockchain technology continues to gain traction in the global healthcare sector as hospitals, insurers, and other industry professionals continue to explore its benefits for sharing, securing, and streamlining sensitive clinical and other health-related information. Recent developments include a partnership between tech giant IBM and Canadian pharmaceutical firm Boehringer Ingelheim to use blockchain for clinical record keeping, as well as a project to create blockchain network tailored to healthcare industry from IBM and health insurance giant Aetna. Interesting. I guess my take on this is they're moving one step closer to having ride sharing based ambulance or ambulance as a service. Utilizing your mobile phone or something like that. I'm kind of on the wall about this because an ambulance is supposed to be a life-saving utility to get you from point A to from your destination to the actual ER. I don't know if if I'm having a heart attack or a mini stroke or something like that. If I have time to pull out my phone and actually hail down a ambulance because it's available as an app. Like I don't know if I really feel all that confident about relying on ambulance as a service or emergency care as a service in that regard from a transportation standpoint.
Yeah, I'll have to agree with you on that. Like you said, the ambulance, they have the equipment to keep you alive until you get to the hospital, until professional doctors can take it from there. life support measures, oxygen, taking your vitals, so forth and so forth, and jotting down information to have for the nurses and doctors and staff at the hospital once you get there
Hmm.
to cut down on the wait time. And also, I'm just curious on how it's a good idea in order to have people get to the hospital, but I'm curious on how they're that they will tokenize this.
Hmm.
So those I agree with your sentiment. Um, it'll be weird having somebody. Oh, I feel like I go to the hospital and they're hailing a ride and they're in a car and it's that's just an awkward look to me.
Yeah, it's early in its phases, but it needs to be ironed out. So,
Yeah, but I would say kudos to Lyft for thinking outside the box.
hmm. All right. So next article is from USAToday.com. Self-driving car technology can't deliver on overblown ride-sharing promises. In the battle to go public, Lyft might be winning. The company's initial public offering, with a target of more than $20 billion, is expected shortly, ahead of a rival Uber. There's a lot of feedback coming from you.
All right.
The key to wooing public investors, however, is showing potential for strong returns. That's a problem because both ride-hailing giants spend any more than they earn. Sorry. The biggest expense, driver salaries. In the first quarter of 2018, Uber raked in $11.3 billion in revenue, more than $8 billion of which was spent on paying drivers. Driverless technology is expected to supposed to change this. Sensors and software, after all, don't demand salaries, which ultimately means wider margins. This explains why Uber and Lyft are investing heavily in self-driving technology. So is Waymo, a Google spinoff, which recently launched its own robocab service. That service comes with caveats. However, it's only available in some American suburbs, four to be exact, all of them in Arizona. Not everyone living in those suburbs can freely use the service. Waymo has to pre-approve you, and riders who can are greeted by human drivers in the front seat. Uber and Lyft's own efforts with self-driving technology have fared no better. Some say this isn't let the robot drive. Anyone can ride experience that self-driving companies have long promised us. Maybe not, but it's hardly surprising. For one thing, driverless does not mean humanless. Sensors and software might trim the need for human labor, but do not, contrary to what self-driving advocates say, purges the need purges that need entirely. Machines are, after all, imperfect. They stumble just like humans do. The impact of these blunders is trivial when fruit picking, drink pouring, and burger flipping robots break down. But when algorithms change, when al- sorry, when algorithms charged with our safety and security follow suit, the result can be deadly. Case in point, the airplane autopilot, first introduced in 1912, the system has since become a staple of the modern cockpit, and rightly so. When engaged, its algorithms can crunch data faster and more reliably than a human pilot ever could. The result: a safer, smoother flying experience. But the autopilot has also been implicated in several air crashes. That's why autopilot use is contingent on human supervision. Regulators know that for its virtues, machines can't be trusted to get it right all the time, every time. Manufacturers know this, by the way. So I don't want to read this whole thing, but what it sounds like to me is there's a lot of doubts about what self-driving is and what it can actually offer. without having a full understanding of what self-driving actually is from an architectural standpoint and from a services standpoint.
And there's been a lot of reports about Waymo. Um, a while ago, there was a report about Waymo car sharing not being as advertised. How it would hesitate in certain situations. Now, I think this article may be using early prototypes, uh, early technology testing, and coming up with this type of article and comparing it to, like they said, autopilot. Autopilot been around for a while, so they're equating this autonomous vehicle driving with autopilot. Now, right now, Waymo uses humans as a precautionary measure in a lot of their autonomous vehicles. But who's to say these two? Okay, with driving, you have constant data gathering. But with flight information, I don't know if that you have that constant data gathering.
Yeah, it does gather data. It has a black box.
Okay, but in terms of making a system better, that's in terms of that.
Yeah, it records data. It records all that turbulence and velocity and things like that.
Okay, yeah. This is hmm. It's like I know what I want to say, but it's not coming out right now.
Well,
Yeah.
see, the issue is that they want to say, "Oh, well, we don't really trust autonomous vehicles." But if you look at the statistics, it shows that not Americans, humans are more liable to be at fault behind the wheel than the robot is. So by their measure, well, we really can't trust the robots. Well, you really can't trust humans either. And drivers are privilege in this country. It's a privilege. You have to earn your license. They can take it away from you at any given time. And I think what's happening is there's this Luddite movement that says that we don't need autonomous vehicles and so on and so forth. And then what happens is they slow down the progress. So on one hand, you're dealing with bureaucracy, but on the other hand, you're dealing with the Luddites.
All right. Yes. Now that's a good point. The Luddite movement. Okay. Just like when horse and carriage was the big deal, and not autonomous, automotive vehicles came about. There were laws put into place saying, "Oh, this is dangerous. This will kill people," but it still came through. And the original Luddite movement, you had machines coming into play, which means they were going to displaced a lot of labor, people working in laborers' jobs, and people had to retrain themselves. So this is I agree with you. This is a Luddite movement. People are saying, well, it can't deliver. Look at this testing and look what's going on. Well, autonomous vehicle has really been tested on the roads for what heavily for the last 2 maybe 3 years. So you're judging the future of something that haven't really been put to the test.
Mm-hmm.
And I do agree with you. There are studies that says I don't know where I read this at or heard this at, but I did hear it where um, the accident rate, to statistically speaking, you are safer in a vehicle that autonomous vehicle that adheres to all rules of the road. Don't try to speed up to beat that yellow light. You know, things of that nature. So I know I saw that or saw that somewhere. I forgot where I saw it, but I know what you're talking about.
Mm. Scholar Chang, what's going on? How are you doing?
Can you guys hear me? Hello?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Yeah.
Hello? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. How you doing? Sorry. I think I was muted earlier. So my bad.
What's going on, Scott Chang?
Hey, how are you?
You have anything you want to add to this, Scholar Chang, about self-driving cars and the doubts of self-driving technology?
So going back to the earlier, what you guys mentioned about the Luddites. I think what Luddites they not see, people tend to have a negative perception of Luddites. But let's be honest here, Luddites were what would you consider? The modern. They would be the equivalent of modern those manufacturing workers, right? I mean, no, I'm sorry, not manufacturing. I'm sorry, I take it back. They would be considered modern. Those modern equivalents of those outsourced employees, whether it be outsourced worker, whether it be the one working in the IT field, or it be one working in the bank financial institution and so forth. Basically, any position that can be outsourced. I think they're not so much as anti-technology is the fact that those technology, the adoption of technology were too rapid to the extent that eliminate their livelihood without any process of transition. So I think that's so they're not really anti-technology per se, but they're just anti-greed. I think in a way. Now going back to the autonomous vehicle, if I'm not mistaken, the last time I read, wasn't the technology hasn't been refined to the point of it could completely that it could literally completely operate itself without some sort of remote guidance, because wasn't as recently there was an accident that happened with multiple accident happened where the drivers actually I'm sorry, I got confused with the I think this autonomous vehicle is also a vehicle that allows you to cruise control without, right? Am I right? There's two types of technology. One is the fully autonomous,
Level
the car
5.
can drive itself, but there's also
level
the
5
one
is
that allows you.
level 5 is fully autonomous.
I'm sorry.
Level 5 is fully autonomous.
Yeah. I think it's the level the level beneath. Well, actually, maybe two level beneath that, where the driver does not have, as long as you put on some sort of, it was almost like a cruise control, but it's almost a full level full cruise control. I think a couple multiple accidents happened as a result of that for that particular instances. Last thing I want to add is that in terms of autonomous vehicle, I'll be as I think we read I think we discussed this before, how that's going to impact the trucking industries. Because right now, I don't know if you guys look around and so forth. Company being hired looking for a truck driver. They claim they have a shortage of truck driver. So a lot of people right now are signing up to be a truck driver and so forth. So that'd be very interesting. You will be I won't say interesting. Well, I guess interesting to see how those applicants, how they're gonna fare as soon as they learn about how the autonomous vehicle technology adoption, the adoption of autonomous technology, how that's going to impact their job prospect.
So, well, the thing is, those autonomous vehicles, like Waymo, for example, have had 25 million miles. I think, if I remember correctly, 25 million miles and only one accident that would have resolved in a death. So you're talking about once every few million miles that these autonomous vehicles have had an accident, and one that actually ended in death. Whereas when you look at the numbers, statistics for human-based accidents, a lot of those resolve in death. If I remember correctly, I think something like 20,000 people die from auto accidents every year. But when drunk driving behind the wheel, texting and driving, all types of variations of disturbance. No one's saying that we should take those people off the road, right? So there's no movement to sabotage humans from being behind the wheel. I mean, your car already has cruise control, so that's like level 1, right? So, but level 5 would be fully autonomous, no hands on the wheel, car stays in the lines. It actually can get off the exit, gets on the on ramp, gets on the off ramp. It can park itself. A lot of cars right now can actually park themselves. They have rear sensors and lidar detection and front sensors for impact collisions to avoid impact collisions. So there's a lot of thought that goes into self-driving cars that are not being taken into consideration. Whereas if you go back, um, even a few years ago, I mean, high traffic deaths, or deaths by traffic accidents, right? People getting ran over on crosswalks and things of that nature. But no one's saying you should take those people off the road. No one's saying we should throw out licenses and not give anybody a license. So,
Scott Chang, you muted. I don't know if you know.
I think he's driving.
Oh no, I'm not. I'm sorry. Because for whatever reason, my signals kind of keep going in and out for whatever reason. The internet.
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to figure out. It's like can you guys hear me clearly when I express without was the sentences conveyed like uninterrupted, or is
Yeah,
come off like
you're clear. You're clear.
Yeah. Okay. Let's just figure out what's going on. School Wi-Fi's.
Yeah.
Oh wait, you guys asked me something earlier. Because like I said, I temporarily disconnected.
No, that's fine.
Oh, okay.
I just wanted to get to Travis Wiley because he said that from a risk management point of view, doesn't the company assume more liability in regards to accidents? You can't blame driver's error. So that we discussed that I think last week. That insurance is going to have to change now, right? So it goes from the driver being insured to the passenger having to be insured. So whoever owns the vehicle has to provide insurance for the passenger. Well, whoever owns the vehicle, it may not even be a human, right? It could be a company. So if your budget or your Avis or Enterprise or something like that, you now have to insure that vehicle and to make sure that the passengers in the vehicle are insured.
Oh yeah. Speaking of rental vehicle, I completely agree with you. Is that the disruption to rental vehicle will be far even more dramatic because now people can just you'll be like, I think it will be to the extent of how Uber how Uber and Lyft, all these ride sharing services disrupt the taxi industry. I think in a way that's the autonomous vehicle even more so because um, a lot of time I feel like the rental vehicle, I'm also the rental company, they kind of serve as like a middleman between the vehicles between the vehicle and the actual and the renter and so forth.
Mm-hmm.
So
all right, let me get to this next one. All right, this next one is from electric.com or .co. All right, so motorcycle pioneer Eric Buell launches new electric motorcycle brand Fuel. I just want to get a good look at this picture here. All right, famed motorcycle designer Eric Buell unveiled his new electric motorcycle brand today. In addition to futuristic-looking new electric motorcycle design, the company also debuted a tech-infused electric bicycle. Eric Buell is known in the industry as a pioneer of motorcycle racing technology. A former Harley-Davidson engineer, he founded Buell Motorcycles, which was eventually purchased by Harley-Davidson. Now, the prolific designer has unveiled his latest venture, the electric mobility brand Fuel. But Buell isn't going in alone. He has teamed up with legendary engineer Frederic Vasseur, the Alfa Romeo Formula One team principal and founder of Spark Racing Technology, which builds the Formula E racers. With Vasseur's electric vehicle experience and Buell's motorcycle design mastery, the team represents a potent mix of skills needed by any new electric mobility startup. Together, they dropped the veil on two new electric rides: Flow electric motorcycle and Fluid electric bicycle. Here's a picture of the fuel flow electric motorcycle will come in two variants: 11 kilowatts and 35 kilowatts. Despite the founder's race and pedigrees, the Flow electric motorcycle is designed primarily for urban applications. That's been a common theme in many new electric motorcycle unveilings lately. A rear hub is mounted in a single-sided swing arm with an off-center rear monoshock. With the hub motor, with the hub motor may add unsprung weight that would be less than desirable for high-performance racing. Its advantage in commuter is that it frees up cargo space in the bike. The Flow should feature 50 liters, 1.75 cubic feet of cargo space. That's huge in the motorcycle world, where space for a pair of gloves and sunglasses is often considered a luxury. Charging should take just about 30 minutes on a 20 kilowatt public charger. The Flow appears to lack a foot brake, but also has an empty left bar where a rear handbrake would otherwise rest, meaning a single right brake lever might control the hydraulic disc brake in the front and regenerate and braking in the rear. Fuel, fuel indicates that the Flow should start at $10,995. Fuel fluid electric bicycle. It sports not one but two 500 kilowatt batteries for 1 kilowatt of total onboard energy storage. Fuel claims that this should be enough for 125 miles, 201 kilometers. Though we're assuming that though we're assuming that in eco mode with pedal assist, even so, that's some serious range. The electric bike features a mid-drive motor that uses a belt drive to transfer 100 nanometers of torque to the rear wheel. The fuel fluid will be available in both 20 miles per hour and 28 miles per hour versions. The bike should start at $3,295. That's high compared to some budget level $500 e-bikes we've tested, but actually quite reasonable considering the high battery capacity, mid-drive motor, and belt drive. That's interesting. I'm more interested about the bicycle than I am the actual motorcycle itself.
Yeah, that's nice, man. I know we've gone over many bikes and electric bikes and motorcycles. One in particular, it was can't remember. It was from electric. It was a concept. The Harley Davidson. That's right. Yeah. Um, the bike looked nice. Now, would you ride the motorcycle? I know you said you're more interested in the bike.
Yeah, I'm a motorcycle person myself, but that does not look like a motorcycle. It just looks like
What is
something else. I don't know. It just doesn't look right.
It's almost like they tried to take a Tron motorcycle and convert it. I'm saying about how the back look, but yeah, I'll have to agree with you on this one. The bike looks more like a traditional bike. It's not too over the top. Yeah, I would agree with you on this one.
Plus it goes 28 miles per hour. You can't really beat that in the city, anyways.
Right.
But the problem is that motorcycle, it doesn't look like it's completed. It looks like it's just you know computer generated drawing. It doesn't look like it's an actual motorcycle, so it doesn't look well thought out. This and it's not just this motorcycle. It's just a lot of electric vehicles all have this sort of futuristic, sort of George Jetson sort of Star Trekky looking shape to them. I think that this takes away from the actuality of what a real car should look like. Tesla has this problem too, right? So Tesla has this sort of bland wedge shaped sort of vehicle that doesn't look like anything else on the road. It, it takes away from the actual characteristics of a car. Audi got it right with the e-tron, and the and the Porsche got it right with the Taycan. Um, it's just one of those things that they all have the same character flaws. The Toyota Prius has the same issue. It's shaped like a cheese block or something like that, out of Wisconsin or something like that. So it's, I really wish they would stop doing it.
Well, it's almost like they're trying to pit electrical vehicles as being the future, and they're trying to uh, use this perceived future design from futurists and futuristic movies. So they're doing that, and I see why they're doing it because it somewhat is the future, and I understand what you're saying. Now, the article did say the bike goes 28 up to 28 miles per hour, right?
Yeah, 20 and 28 miles per hour.
That's like a Vespa almost.
Well, yeah, they have to stay within range, right? You can't go 80 miles per hour because you
Oh
can't ride
no,
on the highway either, right? So, it's enough to get out of its own way, basically.
yeah, yeah. Hey, it looks nice. I
Yeah.
have to agree with you on this one. The bike, I never rode a motorcycle, but bikes are cool in my book, and this one looks not too futuristic, still traditional looking, and it can go up to 28 miles per hour.
Right, and conservative numbers. If you're going downhill, you're probably going to do 35, 40. So, Scholar Shank.
Yeah,
So in regards to the electric vehicle, Michael, you brought up a topic earlier about the design of the vehicle. I mean the motor vehicle. I keep saying vehicle. I'm still talking about autonomous. The motorcycle. I think I agree with you. They probably it looks like something that printed out of those AutoCAD or
Right, 3D
SolidWorks.
Studio.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So definitely. But I guess depending on the personality. I guess the personality of the buyers. So some buyers more utilitarian like me, right? Who don't give a shit about what the looks of the vehicle, the the uh the motorcycle itself. As long as it's functionally superior than the existing models, we don't give a damn. But yeah, but for people who are more aesthetically conscious, then you will create a problem. To me, it's sort of like what the just how the taste, the consumer preference in the existing the vehicles and so forth. Some people place more premium on the looks, and so some don't. So I guess they probably can create a niche market just like they have for now. Now as far as the electric bicycle, now that one's pretty interesting. I wonder, does that mean that does that mean that the existing bike? Because when I think about bicycle, right? When we think about bicycle, unlike motorcycle, you assume that it's always going to be hum, based on human power as opposed to a few sources and so forth. So I guess their consideration of the electric bicycle is that just in case if the human operator gets too tired or whatnot, you could kind of take over. It's kind of like what we have right now, with the battery operated. Well, the problem is at that point, do we still call it bicycle, or is this a more of a slimmed down version of moped? So.
Right, and I was just about to bring that up. That the e-bike is basically a replacement for the moped. Um, Mopeds are basically antiquated, sort of underpowered motorcycles, right? Their acceleration is very slow. They have pedals in case you run out of gas. You have to have a good flat surface in order for it to pick up speed and for it to be efficient. Um, Mopeds going uphill don't really do very well. So that's where the pedals have to come in. But what's the point of pedaling if I already have a motor, right? So it's just one of those things. I think in Europe, in those other places where you have nice flat ground, um, nice flat surface, leveled surface, without too many inclines or elevation for that matter, it makes sense to have a moped. But in this scenario, um, that bike can probably get me to and from work for the whole week without actually charging it. And that's much more cheaper than an actual conventional car. Now, granted, if it snows or it rains, then that's a different story. But as long as the weather is clear, that bike is actually a very much a suitable replacement for an actual car. If you put some panniers on the side, some saddlebags on the side, that could actually be a good commute vehicle.
Yeah, especially the saddlebag. I remember those. You know, that's the sad part. I don't think majority of bike that you seen in the United States do not actually have a what do you call that again? Side saddle, right? Side saddle,
Yeah, side bags,
saddle. What'd you say? Side saddle
side
backpack.
side bags.
Uh, yeah, yeah. So, because by the way, if you go to like a developing country, especially since we talk about developing country, China, for example, if you see every time you see a bicycle, you are bound to see a damn, we keep missing that word. What's the word again? Side bag. Is that
Yes,
what you?
yes, saddlebags or
Yes,
side bags.
yeah, saddlebag. Yeah, and the majority, like I say, majority of the developed country bicycle has that. So yeah, like I agree with you. If they put something like that on the electric one, you you'll be you'll be probably probably nice um few consuming as well, we're talking about electric here. Probably nice. Probably does not consume much electricity as the one for the motorcycle. But I guess it will be an intermediate
Hmm.
form of transportation. Yeah.
All right, let me get to the next article. All right, next article is from CNET.com. Microsoft's HoloLens 2 announced for $3,500, available to pre-order now, ships later this year. Comfort, better visuals, easier to use with your hands. That's a takeaway from HoloLens 2, Microsoft's follow-up to the space-age goggles it announced 4 years ago. The technology behind the $3,500 HoloLens 2 device, which Microsoft calls mixed reality, overlays computer images on the real world. Imagine arrows directing you down the street as you walk, or repair instructions floating over a machine as you fix it. That's MR's promise, Microsoft says. The company was the pioneer in augmented reality worlds when the tech giant debuted its first headset in 2015, charging companies $5,000 apiece for the gadget. Since then, rival devices such as the $2,200 Magic Leap have come on the scene. At prices like that, MR headsets are far more expensive than competing VR technology currently on the market. Facebook's Oculus Rift, for example, is $349. HTC's Vive is $499, and Sony PlayStation VR is $299. You have to buy a computer or PlayStation 4 console to power these VR devices, but even then their prices are at least half what Microsoft or Magic Leap are asking. That hasn't deterred Microsoft from designing an improved headset as part of its push into the now far busier AR universe. The company says HoloLens still isn't ready for you and me to use at home, though. Instead, Microsoft is focused on companies in the military. But that stirred employee dissent, which Microsoft CEO Satya Nadella has dismissed. By Tuesday, more than 250 employees had signed an open letter denouncing the deal. Aside from that caveat, Microsoft has made some welcome improvements to the device, which goes on pre-order on Sunday and will be shipping later this year. Computing, quote, computing is embedded in our world in every place in every way, Nadella said, while unveiling the device at the Mobile World Congress in Barcelona. Computing is everything from connected cars to connected refrigerators, smart surgical tools, and even smart coffee machines. He said the result is the approach to how companies like Microsoft approach the technology they make. It's no longer about the it's no longer about being device first. It's about putting the human first, and it includes all the devices in their lives. Um, what do you think about this, Lionel?
So, so I've been paying attention to the Microsoft HoloLens. I know they had the debut to the second rendition of it like a week 2 weeks ago maybe.
Mm,
Um, the first one was had bugs in it, and it wasn't as refined as this one is.
mhm,
This one, Microsoft is saying that they're gearing it toward enterprise use. Although when you see commercials and so forth, they are also hinting that it can be used for consumer use. The price tag is up there compared to the other options, such the article said the Oculus and the Rift and other ones. Even Microsoft has their own alternative. Um, but with the functionality it has, it's mixed reality, meaning it puts an overlay on a virtual overlay over what you already see. I've seen videos where people and that work for Microsoft have conferences. People that may be in the New York office have conferences via the people via the the headset with people in California. Their avatars standing in front of them. It looks like something out the movies. If people would were to look at a video of it being on display and what it can do, it's a nice item. It's pricey. It has potential in the mixed reality field, and I believe Microsoft is doing good things with this. But the price tag and them saying that there is targeting the enterprise people more so than the consumer people.
mhm. Yeah, it makes sense from an industrial standpoint, right? So if I'm Ford or if I'm GM, if I'm Tesla, and I'm trying to put together vehicles by hand, and I got an exoskeleton to go with it, right, to lug around these big tools and lift these heavy items, right, over 50 pounds and whatnot. That actually makes a whole lot of sense because as you do your job, the AR is actually assisting you in real time.
Right, right. And if you're building something and you're working with someone that's building the prototype and they're somewhere else, you all can put this on and look at what's been built so far and point out little things. And some of the at Microsoft keynote, they were saying, you can put reminders, sticky notes here to remind people to fix this. They really upgraded it. They have upgraded it. It's excuse me. It's just the price tag, and it like I said, it differs I don't think you're going to be watching Netflix or YouTube on this anytime soon.
No, because it's augmented reality and not
Right.
virtual reality, right? So
Right.
like Def Racer is saying in the chat, he says AR and VR are different use cases. Why even compare? Well, the problem is AR actually assists you in one area, and VR actually entertains you in another area. So the re- the reality is you compare the two because you're looking at the use cases from a usability standpoint. You can do a lot more with AR than you can do with VR. But the question is, there's going to be at some point there's going to be a merger of the two devices, right? So at one point there used to be rotary phones versus touch tone phones. Eventually, touch tone phones took over and rotary phones went away. So the idea here is to figure out a way. If I'm Microsoft, then I probably already figured out a way to stop using AR for a time being and switch over to VR in the same headset. Whereas in with VR headsets, you can't switch out like that, right? Because you don't. The augmented reality is not 100% there for it, if it's there at all. So it was going on complex design. Scholar Chang, you have anything you want to add to this discussion?
Yeah. Okay. So the article mentioned about the military, which is a very interesting point. I just want to add it. I'm pretty sure you guys. Well, I'm pretty sure you guys. I'm pretty sure. I think we have discussed. Have we discussed this earlier about how I forgot what's a couple chair. We discussed basically we discussed the I forgot what was one of the chat we mentioned about how this application respect the national defense, something about defense, the national defense in China. But anyway, what I'm trying to say is that what I found fascinating, which I think the article didn't go too deep into, is that if I think the military has already incorporated AR into their training regimen, right? If not mistaken, especially for the special force, especially for the special force, so forth. I would be very interesting to look at to see how this HoloLens itself, if that will offer any form of superior AR technological capability than the existing one. Because I know the army. I'm not army. The Navy already has its own lenses. I forgot a specific name. I don't think we have. Well, I don't think any of us has any information to that because that's more of a national security type of issue. But I know that they have a technology similar to that where they actually like also use a similar lenses. So I just want to compare that to the military one. I wonder how come the military decide to, because the article mentioned how they were trying to sell the Microsoft to sell some of that to the military, if I'm mistaken, right? Or was the military just express interest in it? So I'll be very interested to see how that is going to be similar to the one, or contrast to the one that's used in the military. Maybe who knows? Maybe the military already has a better one, but the design feature of some of the HoloLenses might be slightly better. But yeah, I think that eventually. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, I was just going to say to your point about the military. So the police departments actually use virtual reality for training simulations. Augmented reality for the military is already in place. I believe they've been using that for quite some time, maybe since the last presidential election, right? So they use it for like training on certain types of vehicles as well as certain type of weapon systems. I know I saw recently the last Army Expo or last Navy Expo, I mean, a few weeks ago, that they were training people on how to work on submarines through augmented reality. So that's already in play now. And I'm pretty sure they've been discussing this for years of how to go about better training people without actually putting them on ships and tanks and things like that, and not worrying about how to train them on certain types of vehicles that they don't have in place right now, right? So they have these seats set up. I saw this in Russia. that they had these uh, simulations set up in augmented reality where they were training people on how to fly fighter jets. I think they were either I think they were Sukhoi fighter jets. So they were training them how to fly these things without actually putting them in the fighter jet itself. And if they can pass the augmented reality simulation, they can actually go out there and fly the actual jet because it's not that much different.
Well, I think that if I'm mistaken, the simulation is more leaning toward the VR arena, right? Than on the AR, because the AR, in the case of operating the aircraft, the person still have to operate the aircraft. It's just so that in the in the AR scenario, they're gonna they're gonna offer them more they will have access to more information about the aircraft while they're operating at the same time, right? If I'm mistaken, because the simulation, like I said, simulation. When I think about simulation, I always associate that with the VR for whatever reason. I, for example, the simulation work almost like a glorified form of video games. So that's why I usually associate them. Go ahead. I'm sorry, Mike. What did you say?
No, I was just saying that's what I know of it. It does make a lot of sense in augmented reality that you have a headset on and you have this sort of like makeshift rocket launcher on your shoulders, and it has a lot of the tactical feedback, for that real simulation. So if it's putting out objects in front of your face and you're holding this device on your shoulders, but in reality, it's not, well, not in reality, lack of a pun.
Yeah.
It's actually giving you a real world scenario of how to engage in battlefield tactics. I can't say the same thing about virtual reality in that sense because I haven't seen any cases where people put on these headsets and they're walking around the room. As a matter of fact, we covered a RT video about submarines, and they were actually designing submarines with these sort of augmented reality headsets. If I remember correctly, I think Lionel and I myself had covered this.
Yeah, yeah, and it makes it easier, like you said, to know what you're working on even before you get down there. It's just another layer of training, an exceptional layer of training at that.
Mm-hmm. All right, let me get to the next article. All right, this one is from Business Insider. Why horseshoe crab blood is so expensive. Horseshoe crab blood is a vital resource to the medical field. It's unique in more ways than one. The blue color and its ability to identify bacterial contamination in small quantities. Horseshoe crab blood contains a special immobiot that is separated and then used in FDA testing. There's a lot of questions as to how blood harvesting affects the human horseshoe crab population. But some researchers are dedicated to the cause of protecting such a significant resource. What did you think about this, Lionel?
It's very interesting. I'll separate the two topics that was talked about in the video. The first topic that was obviously talked about how valuable horseshoe blood is because it has a high copper content. Instead of them injecting possible remedies into humans, they injected it into animals. In this scenario, they said rabbits. You're killing a lot of rabbits until you find the variation that is the one that's right to inject in humans. So, we don't want that. You're killing a lot of rabbits. So with the horseshoe blood, it congeals the bad ones, and there that in that case that allows Science is okay. These are bad. These are good. It's a quicker way. It's more efficient than the previous way they were doing it. And that's not to say what other benefits this high copper content blue horseshoe blood has. Now, the drawback of that is they're harvesting a lot of horseshoe crabs from the ocean, a lot, and their species is depleting. The horseshoe crab is millions of years old. People don't know it's millions of years old, and they deplete 30% of the horseshoe crab blood, then put them back to sea. They're saying that yeah, they're surviving when we put them back to sea, but they're not. They're not. It's good, but it's bad at the same time because you're running out your supply. So they're saying science got to look up a synthetic, but horseshoe blood is good.
If it looks blue, I guess it is.
Right.
Now, Scholar Chang, you work in research. What piques your interest in this? If you had an opportunity to see it.
Yeah. Well, number one, the because when you guys, whenever you do any testing, any testing or lab, let me start again. Whenever you conduct any experiment, period, involve animal, you gotta go through this institutional review boards. Specifically under the animal control and the test the subdivision of the institution review board to get some kind of protocols, right? So I just wonder. I always wonder about in terms of the horseshoe bloods, right? If that specific protocol is the reason that makes that is part of reason that to make the expenses getting high, because every time when you have to conduct any experiment associated with any animal, first you have to get a protocol, and when you get a protocol, it's something usually involves some cost. So I think that's part of the reason that the specimen itself is expensive. Also, secondarily, the majority of FDA testing, I think you guys know, there's different phases of FDA testing, right? You have the phase 1, phase 2, and phase 3, and so forth. So for this one, it's probably phase 1 for the animal testing. And most likely, when you do level 1 testing, a lot of times it requires a large quantity. So that's why I think that they mentioned about the significant sources of the blood being used, because in phase 1, remember phase 1 before is the next one is going to be the human one, right? So that's why they have to go through a lot of animal samples before to make sure to almost get down to like 100% sure that the potency and efficacy of the drugs or whatever substance they were testing are on point, before they can move on to the human. So that's why they use so much horseshoe blood in this case. Last thing I want to add in terms of bacteria, another thing is that another reason that the cost is so high is because I guess it depends on the type of bacteria they're working with, right? Majority of cases, the bacteria they're working with, probably relative and non pernicious, non pathogenics. It's not cause too much problem, but in few cases where they have to develop, when they're working with something that's highly biohazard, by the way, in biohazard level 4, but in the biohazard level 3 type of microorganism, they have to be very careful. So they have to hire another technique. They have to hire technicians to do so. And then when you have, as you know, whenever you have human labor involved, that's going to add to an additional cost. So that's why I'm not surprised, like they mentioned, about this type of specimens.
Even for interns?
Hmm?
Even for interns?
Oh yeah, it doesn't matter. Or well, let me back the way for a second. We talk about in the case of FDA. In the case of FDA, doesn't matter. The rule is rule. Now, in the case of university setting, right? Let's say if the university has somehow obtained the protocols to run the horseshoe samples, horseshoe blood samples, and so forth. Yeah, they can get away with getting undergrad students and so forth. But in the FDA, in any federal agency, period, because that's strict bureaucratic procedure, they still have to compensate a certain level. I don't care if it's intern or not. So that's why I don't know if you guys know, that's why in college campus they always have this recruitment programs for the so-called interns. Gateway program. Government gate pathway program, where the golden pathway program, wherever the OSHA program is. If you look at their benefits, a lot of times their benefits are almost like an entry level job in the private sector. So that I don't care if it's intern or not. As if that individual somehow able to get a position in the FDA, they're gonna have to compensate it somehow. So now, of course, like I said, in the case of university setting, in the academic setting, yeah, they can get away because they can just boss around the underpaid grad student and the undergrad student. But in this case, we talk about FDA specifically, right? So I know for a fact that there's gonna be a cost involved for those quote unquote interns. They don't really call them intern, but they call I think they call the research associate, junior research associate, something like some title like that. So yeah, just because you're intern does not mean they cannot have unpaid intern. Especially when dealing with sample with a sample with a biohazard level like say 3 or 4. Anything above 3 requires specialized skills. But yeah.
Okay, let me get to this next one. All right, this one is from NBCnews.com. Scientists create mice with night vision. Here's what that means for humans. Experimental technique makes it possible for rodents to perceive infrared light. No one is ditching the night vision goggles just yet, but scientists working in the United States and China have developed a technique that they could one day give humans the ability to see in the dark. The technique involves injecting the eyes with particles that act like tiny antennae that take infrared light wavelengths that are invisible to humans and other mammals and convert it to visible wavelengths. Mammals can see wavelengths in just a sliver of the electromagnetic spectrum, and the new technique is designed to widen the sliver. The nanoparticle injections that the nano sorry, I got the hiccups again. The nanoparticle injection haven't been tried on humans, but experiments on mice show that they confer the ability to see infrared light without interfering with the perception of the light in the visible range. The effect worked during the day and at night and lasted for several weeks. The rodents were left unharmed once it wore off. Gang Han, a chemist at the University of Massachusetts Medical School and co-author of a new paper describing the research, said in a statement that the technique could lead to a better understanding of visual perception and possibly lead to new ways to treat color blindness. But those are far from the only possible applications if the technique can be made to work safely in other mammals, including humans. In an email to Mark, NBC News Mark, Hahn said it might be possible to use nanoparticle injections to create, quote, super dogs that could make it easier to apprehend lawbreakers in darkness. Quote, for the ordinary people, he added, we may also see our sky in a completely different way, both at night and during the day, because many celestial objects give off infrared light. Wow. The technique doesn't confer the ability to see the longer wavelengths infrared light given off by living bodies and other warm objects. Tian Zhu, a neuroscientist at the University of Science and Technology of China and a co-author of the paper, said in an email. But at least theoretically, it could give humans the ability to see bodies and objects in the darkness without the use of night vision gear, though an infrared light would still be needed. For their research, Han, Zhu, and their collaborators injected the rodents' eyes with nanoparticles treated with proteins that help glue the particles to the light-sensitive cells in the animal's retinas. Once the tiny antennae were in place, the scientists hypnotized the nanoparticles would convert. Oh, I'm sorry. Hypothesized the nanoparticles would convert infrared light into shorter wavelengths, which the animals would then perceive as green light. To make sure the mice were actually seeing the converted infrared light, the scientists subjected the animals to a number of tests, including one in which they were given the choice of entering a totally dark box or one illuminated with infrared light. Mice are nocturnal and ordinarily they prefer the darkness. Control animals showed no preference because both boxes appeared dark to them, while treated mice showed a distinct preference for the dark boxes. Other scientists praised the research while expressing doubts about trying the technique in humans. Harvard neuroscientist Michael Du said in the email that the experiments were, quote, sophisticated and that the technique was likely to work in humans as well as in mice. But he said it was unclear that how sharp the infrared vision would be in humans, and he cautioned that the injections might damage delicate structures in the eye. What do you think about this, Scholar Chang?
So first of all, do you guys know what causes color blindness, right?
Yes.
You know the cells that involve in the color blindness, right?
Yes.
Yeah, the cone cell. Okay, so what the reason they didn't. I don't think the reason they probably didn't move on to didn't go too fast into the human to reach the human testing stage is because the non-specificity of the nanoparticle. So, for example, right? I remember part of my previous research in the master program was involved the gold nanoparticle, delivering gold nanoparticle to treatment of cancer cells, right? That's like the ultimate holy grail of cancer cell treatment is to kill off all the carcinogenic cells, but while preserving the healthy cells and so forth, right? But the problem is when the gold nanoparticle is they're gonna come out. They're not like the nanobots, right? No, not nanobots. They're not like what the movie portrays is. Those nanobots with those nanoparticles can just latch on, can just be like little robots that you can just find the cells and latch onto it. Doesn't work. The technology hasn't reached that level of maturity yet, right? So when it comes to gold nanoparticle treatments, that what's going to happen is that all these apoptotic agent that delivered by those gold nanoparticles sometimes also reach the healthful cell, the healthy cells. So now you basically defeat the whole purpose of gold nanoparticle treatment. So same thing with this one is that you might it's like this, right? You know how when it's like you're making all these shots and you just hope that one of them is going to hit the target. So same thing. You inject the patients with all these nanoparticle. You just hope that some of them is gonna hit the cone cells, responsible for the the color blindness. But you have a whole bunch of cones. So what's gonna happen? Does that mean that for those healthy cones, you have this nanoparticle deliver the payload would that also interfere? So instead of making treatment for the color blindness, you might end up, causing another problem in the process, right? So I think that that's why they had to find a way to get some sort of precision guided, nanotechnology that will outfit in that onto the nanoparticle, so that those nanoparticles can directly reach the specific cone cells. But then that in itself also presents another level of challenge: is how do you know which cone cell, right, is going to cause blindness? Because right now, even the whole biology and the physiology behind the color blindness is still remain a mystery. Mm-hmm. So that's why we couldn't find a cure for color blindness right now. We couldn't. And one of the mystery is, how do you know which cone cells? You can't just open somebody's eyeball and just find out, okay, well, let's see, this cone cells here and this cone cells here, out of millions of cone cells, is the one that we need to treat, right? So that's why that's another level challenge. They have to identify the specific biomarkers in the surface marker on those cone cells that will differentiate them from the rest of the cone cell. So that's the biggest challenge right now, if you turn up the color blindness. Now, as far as the experiments is concerned, like I said, they might just be lucky enough, like I said, they hit the right specific rod in this case in order to confer the night vision. They just have to do it. But I guarantee you, like I said, just like every paper that you see, every 100 experiment, 90% of the experiment, 90% experience with failure. I'm pretty sure that 90% of those cases in those, when they're testing with those injection of nanoparticle with the into these mice, probably a lot of those cases, the mice the experiment didn't end up become successful. So that's another risk you have to take is, how many human patients that you will be able to see that will have to go through this testing before you can find out exactly what the pathway is. Not the pathway, what the specific mechanism is, in terms of interaction between the nanoparticle and cone cells. So yeah, the ultimate, one more thing. One more thing. Ultimate, to summarize, my point is that they have to find they have to create specificity to the nanoparticle before they can inject it into the human patients.
Excuse me. That's a good breakdown, Scholar Chang. I will say you know more than me about this. I'm not familiar with this. I will say, not to be funny or anything, I will not volunteer to try this out. Um, I if it works, it works. If it works without problems, okay, wow, it works. But I wouldn't I wouldn't want to try it out. I wouldn't want to be the guinea pig, nor if it find, nor if they perfect it. No, no, not for me.
Well, I think it's important that that testing still goes on, right, to figure out, because this is going to be used in the future. When you talk about space, travel, and things of that nature, you're going to need some form of nocturnal vision or the ability to see in the dark while you're in these places, because there's no infrastructure in place, and you're taking humans from one element of society and bringing them into a completely different element that they haven't been before. So you're kind of utilizing this sort of testing now for what's going to come, 50 to 100 years from now. I think the experiments should continue, especially with the horseshoe crab blood. You may need that sort of cyclops vision. When you're walking on Mars or something like that at some point in the future, or some other planet. In the next 100 to 200 years. I mean, we really don't know how far you can go with some of these experiments. If they're getting positive results from mice, I'd be interested to see what happens with things like horses and and monkeys and things of that nature.
Oh, Mike, I also want to add um, is that I think this article also mentioned I forgot which I think it's paragraph also mentioned about the application beyond just the vision is that the nanoparticle itself, and like I said, once they enhance the specificity of the nanoparticle, they will be able to target. They will be able to target multiple um, tissue at the same time. So they would. It's like this, right? It's like what would be a good analogy is they would dispatch a whole bunch of nanoparticle. They would say, okay, well, this group here is going to treat the color blindness. This group here is going to go treat the arthritis, and this group here is going to go treat the I don't know your rheumatitis, right? So basically, they will be. I think that's what the extension of this article is, that they will be able to eventually they're going to get to the points of where they'll be able to target multiple sims at once. And now, in terms of space travel, you talk about in terms of going to space. I think that becomes even more important because not just your vision has to be enhanced, also your respiratory, right?
Right.
System have to be enhanced too, right? Because, like I said, even though you have the oxygen max and so forth, all that stuff, but let's be honest here, human being we adapt to live on Earth. All of our physiological and anatomical parameters are optimized specific for the Earth condition. But if you're gonna ever become, if you ever travel to space, and we talk about years at a time and so forth, then we really have we not just talk about just we're not talking about just optimize one specific set of parameters. We're gonna have to optimize all of them at the same time. So I guess that's what the ramification of this technology is, that we want to see how if those nanoparticles will be able to confer multiple treatment slash enhancement at the same time. But then in that case, then we delve into another topic, which is transhumanism, which probably is going to be part, because that's the whole subcategory of this. But the broader category of this is going to be. But right now, I think that they just focus on the pathological condition. But if you can tie that into the space, then we talk about transhumanism at that point.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Now, Charlotte Chang, what's your academic background in? What do you have your undergrad in?
My undergrad was in biophysics and mathematics, and I was in the master program briefly in the pharmaceutical chemistry and biomedical engineering. But now I'm in the doctoral program. Well, pre-doctoral program, because I'm not an official doctoral student yet until I pass the level 1 exam in the biomedical engineering also.
Okay. Let me get to the next article. All right. This one is from the diplomat.com. China's Get Rich Space Program. Unlike other nations, China's space ambitions are centered on wealth creation through a space-based economy. 2049 is an important year for the People's Republic of China. That year, the PRC, established in 1949, will celebrate its 100th birthday. Consequently, past and current Chinese leaders have set two interrelated centennial goals. By 2021, the year the Chinese Communist Party celebrates the 100th anniversary of its founding, China will aim to become a, quote, moderately prosperous society in all respects and double its GDP per capita from its 2010 level of $7,000 and $7,924. By 2049, China will be a fully developed, rich, and powerful nation, leading in outer space, artificial intelligence, and innovation. President Xi Jinping has specified that the China space program, part of the national rejuvenation of the Chinese nation, has a critical role in achieving these two interrelated goals. Unlike NASA, which is aimed at space exploration and space science missions, China's space program is aimed at long-term wealth creation for the Chinese nation by utilizing a space-based economy. The global the global space economy today is worth $350 billion, but is predicted to be worth $2.7 trillion by 2040. Added to this is the significant economic potential from future space mining. Scientists infer that a small platform-rich asteroid just 200 meters in length could be worth $30 billion. Asteroid 2011, UW158, which sailed at a distance of 1.5 million miles from Earth in July 2015, was worth an estimated $5 trillion in platinum. Given this, China's space goals depart from the flags and footprints model that dominated the age of the Apollo missions. As per its white paper on space activities published in 2016, China's space program is an integral part of its national economic rejuvenation and development goals. Talking to Shenzhou 10 astronauts on board the Tiangong 1 space station in 2013, Xi emphasized the space dream is part of the dream to make China stronger. With the development of space programs, Chinese people will take bigger strides to explore further into space. On April 24, 2016, China's first space day to memorialize the country's opening satellite launch, April 24th, 1970, Xi noted that to explore the vast cosmos, develop the space industry, and build China into a space power is a dream we pursue unremittingly. The personal investments of the CCP leaders like Mao Zedong, Deng Xiaoping, and Jiang Zemin, and now Xi, in China's space program offers several critical insights. First, given China is predicted to be foremost global economy by 2050, the country has an urgent need to invest in future resource bases since fossil fuels will become scarce by 2052 to 2060, even while investing in the capacity to mine resources from continents like Antarctica. China is investing in the other lucrative frontier, outer space. Wealth creation from the moon. Besides asteroids, estimates of resources on the lunar surface include thorium, magnesium, platinum, titanium, silicon, water, aluminum, and iron ore. In 2002, Ji Yun, chief scientist of China's lunar exploration program, stated that the moon could serve as a new and tremendous supplier of energy and resources for human beings. This is crucial to sustainable development of human beings on Earth. Whoever first conquers the moon will benefit first. I don't want to read too much more into this, but this is a very long article and a very good article. But Scholar Chang, my ambassador.
Okay, well, first of all, I'm sorry. Finish what you say, Mike. I'm sorry.
No, go right ahead. Go right ahead.
Okay, first of all, let's go right into the leadership, right? So Chinese leadership, up until now, even until this day, has majority of leadership come from STEM background. I'm pretty sure you guys kind of know by now. That's why the lot of Chinese so-called, like I said, so-called national rejuvenation program consists of putting emphasis on the STEM, because every Chinese kids, the history lessons was the reason that China suffered the humility defeat in the 18th century was because the fact that the stamp, because of stamp. They say the Qing dynasty didn't put any emphasis on science. That's why we become a semi-colonial power. Then we become semi-colonized. So right now, that's why right now you see that the leadership put a lot of emphasis on the stamp because there's all these, you know, like I say, I don't care if you call it, you know, I don't know if you call it propaganda, indoctrination, history lessons, whatever. So they really see this as a way to not repeat the, you know, the history again, right? Secondarily, in terms of the resource mining and all that stuff, you know, Chinese leadership is a very pragmatist driven. Yeah, on the surface, right? You might think a lot of people think the Chinese leadership is same as, you know, North Korea, right? You think that Chinese leadership put on all these big shows and whatever and stuff. Yeah, I will agree with you. You know, back in the 1960s or 1970 even, right? I will agree with you. Chinese leadership will be almost virtually identical to the North Korean leadership nowadays, where everything is based on a lie, based on prefabrication and so forth. But actually, the modern Chinese leadership, a lot of them on the inside, a lot of them are pragmatists by heart. They know that even though that they could go to, you know, other continent, you know, for example in Africa and so forth, to, you know, work out some kind of resource exchange deals and whatever. They know that, but they're going to encounter competition and resistance. So whether it be from the European power, from the North American power, or from, like I said, the indigenous African countries and so forth. So that's why they have to broaden the horizon. They say, well, space right now, you know, relatively open. You know, not too many countries are in the space right now. So why not just go ahead and into space and extract resources, right? This is one. Yeah, I'm pretty sure you guys heard of this saying by Confucius, right? Which is, you know, summarized very clearly, right? Is that how do I translate this? Is that the river, the boats will float. The boats will float once they encounter the river, something like that. I forgot how to translate it directly. Basically, just means that when you put ambition in the right, when you put ambition in the right circumstances, when you put your objective in the right circumstances, you will be accomplished. You just have to put in the right circumstances and so forth. So that's what their goal right now is. They say, oh, we have this objective of getting resource. We just have to make sure that the condition that we get the resource from are, you know, least painful and, like I said, least costly and least politically charged. Because right now, you know, like I say, if everybody go to all these developing countries and get resources and so forth, look at just how controversial it is when the Chinese company tried to sell some mining extraction in some of the African countries. Look at how much political controversy and all that stuff. You know, now a lot of them accuse them being a colonial, neo-colonial power, wherever. Right. So all these backlash, yeah, they encounter is gonna to make them decide. You know, that's what I'm saying. They decide that they'll have to embark on an alternative way. And the space seems to be a very attractive target because, like I say, not too many countries in space right now. Right. Mm-hmm. Lastly, I also want to mention that in terms of the national defense point of view, right? So I'm pretty sure you guys know. I mean, we covered them over and over again about how, you know, the Chinese military want to be able to incorporate space technology as part of the arsenal. So they want to. So, but to them is it's almost like knocking two, you know, not killing two birds with one stone. They want to be able to develop the space technology capability that's versatile enough to accomplish both the resource extraction part, / wealth creation part, and the national defense part. So to them, it's like a twin goals. So yeah, that's why I'm not surprised that the leadership fell. Lastly, I want to add is the I know that I keep beating the dead horse here. In order for the Communist Party, CCP, in order for them to survive, maintain political control and so forth, they have to demonstrate to the public, especially in the society where the wealth distribution, like I say, is becoming increasing more extreme and so forth, and where the real estate bubbles, the stock market bubbles could pop at any moment. They have to find some sort of way to demonstrate the utilitarian value, the utilitarian value of the CCP. So to them, that's why this whole national rejuvenation program is a form of, like I say, basically demonstrate to the Chinese population that while CCP will indeed bring some sort of benefit, so any form of civil unrest and so forth would not be desirable. So that's part of the reason they are very ambitious right now to embark all these programs. Is because the CCP, like I say, believe it or not, is very fragile. It's as fragile as any of the dynasty throughout Chinese history. So that's why they're being in the view of such a dynasty changing record. CCP, like I say, CCP has to demonstrate, like I say, to the public that is capable of bringing China, reviving China's global position again. So yeah, those are the points I want to touch on.
I know you have anything you want to add to this?
Yeah, they touched on the wealth creation when it talks about, pertaining to asteroid mining. There's what's what I'm looking for. There's calculated to be not billions, not trillions, not even quadrillion, but quintillions amount. The dollar amount is expected to reach in the quintillions
Is that a number?
of, huh?
Is that a number?
Yes, sir, it is. Google told me. So, but seriously, it's expected to reach in the quintillions. And the reason I say that is because I read an article. It was pertaining to crypto, which says that Bitcoin is more valuable than gold because of the scarcity, and it it made their argument by saying these asteroids hold gold in them. The asteroids is made up of a lot of the same stuff. Some things, not some materials or elements are not on Earth, but a lot of the same things are made, which makes Earth are in the asteroids. So gold content, you talked about platinum, carbon is everywhere in the universe. So,
Right.
so you say again,
Iron ore.
right? Iron ore. So a lot of these asteroids are solid iron. So a lot of these minerals and other things will reach in the dollar amount of quintillion. That's why when people talk about asteroid mining, and Neil deGrasse Tyson talked about this also, he says that the first trillionaires will be on Earth because of, will start to populate Earth because of asteroid mining. I'm in the camp of the first trillion, single trillionaire will be with because of crypto, but multi-trillionaires will be because of asteroid mining. There's so much money to be made. And talk about the moon. I saw something where when humans go to the moon, obviously you can't take the supplies to the moon because it costs a lot of fuel to get that out of the Earth's atmosphere.
Mm-hmm.
That loose rock dust that's on the moon is called regolith. They can make bricks out of that, and they are talking about doing that in order to make um, habitats
Hmm.
that that can then shield the habitat from the radiation of the solar system. So this is when people say, "Well, we can't go to outer space or the moon or so forth. We don't have the technology." They're only saying it from a surface point of view without even digging to see, well, before I make this argument, let me see if they really can. Yes, they can. Elon Musk and SpaceX, they're going to use the BFG, the Big Falcon rocket, to get to Mars. All this is incredible, man. Because when I say quintillion, that number is unfathomable. You're talking about gold, iron, carbon, platinum, other things, and there's millions of asteroids out there. This is wealth creation beyond what you can think of now. When you ask people, man, how much money do you want? Will make you happy? People come up with this insane amount. Oh, I want 100 billion million. You ever heard of that insane amount?
Hmm.
Well, you can get your 100 billion million from these asteroids, and I tell you that much. But it's insane
And
of the
that's
potential. Go ahead.
no, that's why we had these space and technology hangouts, right? Because we saw the writing on the wall. We covered articles. There's a lot of feedback coming from you, I know. We saw the feedback. I mean, we saw the writing on the wall that there was going to be this explosion of startups involving space and technology, space development. And we went over an article I think last week or so, maybe 2 weeks or so, that had talked about 100 startups in the last 10 years for space. I think maybe only like less than 10 of them failed. But the point of the matter is there's an explosion of space startups coming out of all ends of the continent, as well as China, especially. China is heavily invested, as we see in the article. Europe is getting involved. The only people that's not getting involved are black people, and it makes me wonder, where are we on the uh, the technological front? Do we have a 50-year plan? Do we even have a 25-year plan? Do we possibly, if we don't have a 25-year plan, we definitely not talking about a 100-year plan. This is where everything is moving. This is where all your job creation and your wealth creation is going to come from. And like the article was saying, China is heavily invested into making this a part of their national agenda to be dominant in space, dominant in artificial intelligence, dominant in communications in terms of 5G, 6G, all of these areas, as well as medicine too. I mean, all areas of STEM they plan on being dominant in, but space and tech, the space portion of for all intents and purposes of this discussion, this is where it is, and we're not talking about a whole lot of money that you need to have a startup. We saw that SpaceX hovers around $30 billion, right? And then you really trickle it down to like Jeff Bezos' Blue Origin. I think that's a lot less. And then you talk about what's the other one? Richard Branson.
Uh, Virgin Galactic.
Yeah, Virgin Galactic. So now you're talking about more of a trickle down, and then you're talking about the 3D printed rockets from that other company, the other rocket laboratory. I forget the name of it now.
Yeah,
Uh,
I know what you're talking about. They the steel printed, steel 3D printed. Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
right. So you're talking about less than $1 billion now, less than a $500 million. Now you're down $100 million. China, there was a startup in China last year that a space startup in China that raised $20 million to get their company off the ground. So now you're talking about less than that. I think that other company we covered maybe a few weeks ago was like somewhere between $10 and $15 million. So you figure by 2020, $5 million by 2022, less than $5 million. We're talking about doable money now. Rappers spend more on private jets than what is going to be invested into space startups in the next year or so. So we're talking about things that are attainable, goals that can be set and can be achieved in this endeavor. So, hey, Nicole Ali, what's going on? You're welcome.
Yeah. Yeah. Welcome. Welcome, man. This, and I sent out another email talking about. Did I send that out? Yeah, I'm pretty sure I sent it out. Talking about space garbage and just making money in that. Cleaning up the low Earth orbit, immediate space around Earth. Just cleaning up that.
Yeah, Sanford son.
Right, exactly. And I keep saying this. Y'all think we playing that? Yeah, it may sound funny, haha, Sanford son. Yeah, I remember that show, but I am serious. It's so much. You got to think. We've been sending out, the world been sending out, Earthlings been sending out stuff to space since the late 1950s. Just things in general, and they just up there. Space launches was highly ineffective and highly trashy. You once the rockets get the main payload out of the Earth's atmosphere, they just hover in space until they even burn out or just stay there.
Yeah, a lot of stuff falls to the ground. We covered an article before about space trash falling onto the beach in California, and they didn't know where it came from until they actually looked at the serial numbers and stuff like that and traced it back.
This stuff makes money, like you. This is the type of money, if you spend $1 million a day, you wouldn't be able to spend it all. This is, as the other folks say, this is stupid dumb rich.
Mm-hmm.
What's going on,
Preem?
Hey.
What's going on, man?
It's all good, man. It's all good.
Yeah.
Gotla.
Yeah, I think we're gonna keep beating this war drum until we finally get into people's heads that this is doable. This is an attainable goal. We should be setting our sights on this. Forget about working at Geek Squad at Best Buy. Forget about driving Uber and Lyft. This is where the big industries are going. This is where your new STEM is. You want to get into tech. This is the tech you should be getting into. We're not talking about fixing computers, for your grandmother and clearing viruses off their computer and emojis and things like that. This is where it is right now.
Well, Mike, but at the same time, I think about this though, right? Two things you mentioned about changing people's mindsets. Actually, no, three things. First thing I want to mention is that I forgot to add earlier is that another purpose of this ambitions program is because how America has the SpaceX, right? And Jeff Bezos. I think Jeff Bezos also has. I forgot that space program by Jeff Bezos. Forgot the name.
Blue Origin.
Yeah. Chinese also has the Chinese government also they also want to encourage their own startup, right? Those private startup. So that's why they want to get into this program, get into this field right now is because they want to nurture their own startup, private startup to compete with the likes of SpaceX and so forth. So that's not the purpose. I forgot to add that earlier. Now go back to what I said earlier about changing people's mindset. I don't know if you guys read. Apparently, Kylie Jenner, right, just become the youngest billionaire. Supposedly self-made billionaire in America, right?
Mm-hmm.
And look at the source of income. From what? From makeup, cosmetic. And majority of population, majority of consumers are what? The younger people and so forth, right? So and take that in contrast to your developing countries, in the great country. Look at that. Yeah, they have a celebrity and so forth, but they never reach that level of seeing wealth as the one you see in the United States, right? So that's why when people look at this, then they'll say, well, why even bother to go into all these extremely challenging field and so forth, get into all this industry and so forth. Yeah, they make money and so forth, but look at right now, these people, they barely do anything. They just have to show off being socialized and so forth, and they become billionaire. So that's why, in order to do that, you have to encourage the right type of well, I won't use the word wealth distribution, but the right type of wealth creation that does not go proportionally to the entertainment industry. Right? So that in order to have incentive, because people have to be incentivized. You can't, you can beat the drum horse all you want, but if without the right incentive, people are just not going to go into it. Right?
Hey.
Right. For example, in China and so forth, and a aerospace engineer achieve the same type of celebrity status as the one where we're seeing here. Yeah, and here, people celebrate stand. Yeah, people celebrate stand here, celebrate stand there, celebrate stand here. Oh, we gotta do stand this, stand that, stand them, so forth, so forth. But look at the salary they make. I mean, how many biology and engineer graduate you have every year, right? How many of them actually achieve the stable middle class income? Let's be honest here.
America has a lot of its own problems, so that's something that we have to kind of, and I say we, saying we as the innovative class of people have to actually start funding our own platforms and start funding our own startups, instead of waiting for a handout and waiting for any sort of your job to be or your resume to be saw on LinkedIn, right? We shouldn't be waiting for that anymore. I think those days are going to go away, and maybe LinkedIn might go away too for its original purpose. I just wanted to point this out real quick to Nicole Ali. The articles 5 and 6 are actually right up your alley. I think if I remember correctly, you're a scientist, so those may pique your interest. Preem, you had something you wanted to add?
No, sir.
Hey, I found a website that shows the amount of money and the material, the minerals that are in some of the asteroids that have been detected already. Did you want to bring that up? I'll tell you where to go.
Did you drop it into the chat or what?
Yeah, let me do that right now. One moment. Let me mute myself first. I don't want no background noise to come in.
All right, let me get to the next piece then. All right, this one is from MIT technologyreview.com. China has opened a Mars simulation center to prep for future missions. The camp is located in one of the driest areas on Earth, the Canam Basin, which is located in western China. In advance of China's first launch to Mars next year, the Mars simulation camp has opened. According to the state-run media outlet Global Times, it has been under construction since last July and cost a total of 150 million yuan, $22 million in U.S. money. The site will serve as a place for running science experiments, but it will also be a tourist destination. NASA has used similar desert environments for Mars testing in preparation for its 2020 rover launch. A Yale team recently tested a rover in the Atacama Desert in Chile and found a unique pattern of life under the surface. It makes sense. China would be doing something similar. seeing as its target launch date is just over a year away. China has recently put its space focus on the moon, landing on its far side in January and is planning another lunar landing later this year. But the country has long been eyeing a bigger jump to our planetary neighbor. If it all goes to plan, China China's Mars mission will launch in 2020 and arrive at the planet in 2021. The project will involve both an orbiter and a rover, which is intended to land in one of these two locations because of a convenient launch window when Mars is closer to the Earth. It's joining a number of other space organizations, including NASA, the ESA, and the UAE, which are all launching Mars missions next year. Wow, the UAE. So, Scholar Chang, have you been to this western part of China where the desert is?
Well, I haven't been back to China for almost 12 almost 12 to 13 years. So,
You're
but I
banned
know
from there,
exactly.
right?
What do you say?
You're banned from there, right?
Have I been to Western China? Oh yeah, I have been to Western China. So when they say Western China, I think what they're referring to is not, you know, what the because Tibet and the Tibet and Xinjiang area, those are not considered. Well, they consider them at most Western, going toward the that region. I think what they're referring to probably the almost like the American version, the Midwest, in that's Midwest and Southwest areas. I think that's what the Mars Simulation Center is. Oh yeah, again, I'm not surprised they're gonna do place in those regions because what happened is that part you know how Chinese development history, right? You know how the first industrialized part of China was being the coastal area, and they gradually push inwards, toward the inland and so forth. So right now, that's why they put the space Mars Simulation Center there, is because they also want to develop that region at the same time. That's in fact, I remember still distinctly remember that was a part of their national rejuvenation program, was to develop the West, because the West has always been neglected. The western part of China has always been neglected until, like I say, recent time. So that's why that's why they have to that's why they try to industrialize that region, and of course, throughout the industrialization process, and cause some problem. But we're not going to go into that because that would be for geopolitics. But yeah, the point is that that's why they deliberately choose that small simulation in the western part of China, is because that's, again, that goes back to what I said earlier about the developmental goal of China. A lot of times they are they're versatile. They want to be able to accomplish multiple objectives at the same time. That is another one of the objectives: develop a region while they put in Mars Center there. Lastly, I want to mention about the Mars landing part. Ultimately, I think what China is trying to do is that obviously they want to have the manned mission and the moon first before they go into the Mars. But who knows? They might just want to skip the moon altogether and just create and have the manned mission on the Mars. Because right now, like I say, obviously, United States has the records in terms of having manned mission on the moon. I think what they're trying to do is they want.
Allegedly.
Hey, listen, I'm not gonna get into the conspiracy. Yeah, that's one conspiracy I don't believe. I believe in a lot of conspiracy, but that was one conspiracy I don't believe. I don't believe it.
Well, on this channel, we're gonna say allegedly because we have no.
Why? Because because the flag was blowing in the wind.
Where is the flag now?
But
hey, I want to share this this link that Lionel dropped. Lionel, you want to
all right. Now,
to
yes, please. Now, there's millions of asteroids in the asteroid belt. And for those that are listening, the asteroid belt is in between the planets of Mars and Jupiter. The inner planets are called the terrestrial planets. They're small and rocky. The outer planets are called the jovial planets. They're huge gas, and ice giants. Now, some of these asteroids that are these are asteroids that they recovered. Now, the dollar value you see QT, that's quintillion. That's quintillion. I'll say it again. That's quintillion. You have million, billion, trillion, quadrillion, then quintillion. So the largest one is called Davida. Now, the Davida asteroid is worth 7.09 quintillion dollars. Estimated. Estimated worth. Now, the what to call this? The minerals, what you call it? Minerals? What you call it? Minerals? That this, I'm trying to bring a periodic table, that this thing is estimated to be to hold. You have, golly, come on, periodic table. You have Ni. That if
GGER.
huh?
Would you say?
No, the little bubbles on the right hand side of some of these asteroids is the shows what kind of minerals are located. Well, what kind of minerals these asteroids have.
Oh, you talk about the ions, the nickels,
Right,
the
right.
carbon
Carbon,
monoxide, yeah,
H2O, water.
ammonia.
Right. And this is the largest one at 7.9 quintillion.
Mm-hmm.
Some is worth 1.88 quintillion, 1.61 quintillion, 2.52 quintillion. This is a lot of money. We're not talking about millions. We're not talking about billions. Billionaires will be everyday people.
They don't print that kind of money. That's money that has to be that will value in cryptos or
Yeah,
something like that.
I was gonna say that
Right.
too. Yeah, the inflate.
This is crypto. This is asteroid mining. This is quintillionaires. This is what this is, and these are just rocks floating out in the space. What about mining planets? God, Lee, stop talking about these BS. Talking about women and oh, we don't do this. I don't want to curse, but oh, it irritates me. Look at this
Easy,
graph.
easy, Leonard.
Quintillions of dollars.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. One is named Chicago at 3.1 quintillion.
Now, do you know if they got any you know if you can meet those minerals at the Joe?
Man, hey, this you know what? Hey, hey,
On there, Joe.
hey, you can buy as much 22-inch rims as you want with this type of money. Just get out there, man. Just get out there and mine this stuff. Now, obviously, humans are not going to mine this. More than likely, robots will mine it. Therefore, you need artificial intelligence, deep learning, blockchain. A lot of this fourth industrial revolution, IoT or fourth industrial revolution technology. Get man.
Well, Lionel, you brought a very important point. You know, that got me wondering now. You know, all this supposedly private trip, you know, by these billionaires into the space. Oh, I just want to dare to, you know, experience the sport, space exploration, and so forth. Bullshit. I'm pretty sure a lot of them have sinister purpose behind it too. They probably already foresaw this kind of trends, you know, in terms of astral mining and so forth. They probably really want to see if they can get some kind of private, private, some kind of some kind of private uh, um, mining operations, you know, to take a to go around and see if they have how far they can, you know, how far they can extend, you know, how what's the limits of the technology capability and so forth.
I,
Because they, you know what I'm saying? basically they want to be able to see they want to see if they can continue to maintain this kind of the elite status and so forth. Yeah. So I'm not. That's a very good point.
I think you're making a good point. I think a lot of these private investors or the ones who can afford to fly on these these tourist flights are actually looking at colonizing these these asteroids and other even other planets for that matter by putting their stake into it first without actually owning it, right? So there's this idea that if I put my claim in first, then I own it. But the only difference here is not like on Earth, right? On Earth, you use a military to actually conquer land and actually be able to hold it. But if you're out in space, you can basically send a device up there to actually uh, basically put your footprint on that asteroid. The other strategic part of this is that how do you defend that, right? If you're a millionaire or you're a billionaire and you want to make claim on one of these asteroids, you got to be able to defend that because somebody else who has either just as much money as you or more money than you will probably knock you off.
Well, that's the part is when you get to that point, that's why now do you see why I think that's why all these pieces start to come together. That's why they start to put a lot of emphasis on the mercenary, the private, those mercenaries right now. Those that's why those mercenaries start taking more and more prominent roles in terms of the foreign overseas military operations and so forth. Because eventually, what they're trying to do is they want to see if they can raise their own private army, space army for that matter. I know everything we talk about right now is kind of speculative, but let's just think that you think all these people, like I say, it's not coincident that I believe that everything has a cost and so forth. So I believe that the reason they have some sort, that's why that's why they don't trust the standard army as much because I'm sorry, what would you say about Mike?
No, I'm saying we're not that far off because if you're talking about private space militaries, you're talking about black water in space. You're basically talking about a space water at this point. It's not all that far fetched that they can do something like that. With enough money and enough expertise, you can get something like that done. Where you have private space launches, private rocket launches, delivering drones into space that have lasers attached to them that basically burns, other adversary sort of drones or other vehicles in space, just burn them out of existence. And I mean, who's going to answer for that, right? How do you confirm that it was this person's laser or that country's laser or that? You know what I'm saying? Like, there's no way to actually prove anything. There's no real historical forensics to go through because it's all in space. That stuff is already burned and it's floating off millions of miles away by the time you get to it. To actually confirm that you lost a device or you lost another superbot for that matter.
Yeah.
Let me get to this next article. This one is from physics.org. First evidence of planet-wide groundwater system on Mars. Mars Express has revealed that first geological evidence of a system of ancient interconnected lakes that once lay deep beneath the red planet's surface, 5 of which may contain minerals crucial to life. Mars appears to be an arid world, but its surface shows compelling signs that large amounts of water once existed across the planet. We see features that would have needed water to form, branching flow channels and valleys. For example, in just last year, Mars Express detected a pool of liquid water beneath the planet's south pole. A new study now reveals the extent of underground water in ancient Mars that was previously only predicted by models. Quote, early Early Mars was a watery world, but as the planet's climate changed, this water retreated below the surface to form pools and groundwater, says lead author Francisco Solis of Utrecht University, the Netherlands. Quote, we trace the water in our study as it scales and role is a matter of a debate. And we found that the first geological evidence of a planet-wide groundwater system on Mars. So Leese and colleagues explored 24 deep enclosed craters in the northern hemisphere of Mars, with floors lying roughly 4,000 meters below Martian sea level. Hmm. Yeah, we knew that there was water up there, right? It wasn't that far fetched.
Yeah, this is significant because it points to the fact that Mars isn't so much desolate, so much arid, so much of a dead planet that there's things there that can be used to build further space exploration thing, minerals and mine. Uh, when you have water, you can separate the what you call it, the atoms, the elements, and get hydrogen for fuel and oxygen to breathe. And on top of that, in their combined states, you have water. These are the things that's vital for humans. And when you planet hop and you find these things in abundance or just below the surface, also other elements that are vital to humans to build and repair things. These are vital things. Don't when we see things like this or reports of this type is brought to light, that means that these planets is that much more valuable. Though that land is that much more valuable because life can be sustained there in some type of way.
Gotcha. Okay, no such. Well, this adds more to the discussion about having um, terradomes on Mars, right? So now you're talking about the ability to pump water out if you had the right sort of equipment landed there in robots with the right algorithms, with the right artificial intelligence, with the right machine learning and deep learning, you could actually get a whole lot done if somebody wanted to actually get some water off of Mars to actually make it a sustainable life to grow either grow crops or to actually live there.
Excuse me, and that's another level. Growing crops. Now you can do that, which means green or crops can help with the atmosphere. There's all type of levels to this.
Yeah, let me get to my next. Let me get to the next item on the docket. All right, this one is from Space.com. Mole on Inside Mars lander starts burrowing, but the going is rough. The mole aboard NASA's Insight Mars lander has encountered stiff resistance on its first subsurface sojourn beneath the surface of the red planet. In the major mission milestone, InSight's Heat Flow and Physical Properties Package (HP3) instrument burrowed underground for the first time on February 28th after 400 ram blows over the course of 4 hours. The instrument apparently got between 7 inches and 19.7 inches beneath the red dirt, but obstacles slowed its progress, mission team members said. Quote, on its way into the depths, uh, on its way into the depths, the mole seems to have hit a stone, tilting about 15 degrees and pushed it aside or past it. HP3 principal investigator Tillman Spahn of the German Aerospace Center, known by German acronym DLR. Quote, the mole then worked its way up against another stone at an advanced depth until the planned 4-hour operating time of the first sequence expired. Spawn added. Tests on Earth showed that the rod-shaped uh, penet- penetrometer is able to push smaller stones to the side, which is very time-consuming. This is interesting because they're not going that deep underneath the Mars surface. I think the um, I think the distance that they're looking to get is something like what a couple of feet, if I remember correctly, 16 inches or something like that, or I think it's maybe like 10 feet.
Yeah, you're right because I think we went over that. They're supposed to monitor the core of Mars, and they only needed to dig a few feet.
Hmm. Right. I still think it's progress, personally, to me. The fact that you even get it up there and it's still working is progress. They only have so much time to actually do anything, though, because with all these dust storms coming up and whatnot, shifts in weather, uh, that 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 lander doesn't have wheels on it. So what happens here is it can't run away from any sort of perceived storm coming or an actual storm actually showing up. So it might just it can get buried right over by the dust. So they only have so much time to actually get what they want to do done.
Right, right. We went over a while ago. It was a planet-wide dust storm that buried a few of the rovers that was already there.
Yeah, I think it was Curiosity.
Hmm.
All right, let me get to the next article. All right, this one is from RT. Crazy methane-based alien life could exist on Titan's surface. A NASA planetary scientist tasked with discovering life in our solar system's ocean worlds has put forward the idea that a strange form of alien life lives on Titan, the Earth-like moon that revolves around Saturn. Dr. Amanda Hendricks, the co-lead of the NASA Roadmaps to Ocean's Worlds Group, said her program may represent the greatest chance of discovering alien life in our solar system, and she believes Titan could be their best shot. We need to understand whether these oceans are habitable and, if so, whether these oceans actually host life, she told the Express. Saturn's moon is Saturn's moon is the second largest in the entire solar system and is home to surface liquid and dust storms. Hendricks claims that Titan's conditions make it a strong contender for hosting life, and while she doesn't believe there are aliens with green heads swimming around in there, the scientist says she does think that the ocean's worlds could harbor some simple life forms. Titan is a very unique ocean world because it has an ocean at the subsurface and it has liquid hydrocarbon lakes on the surface, the scientists explained. So there could be some crazy form of methane based life right there on Titan's surface. Interesting. Aside from Titan, there are at least two more worlds that could play host to a form of life. These are contenders. These other contenders are Enceladus, the sixth largest moon of Saturn, and Europa, the smallest of the four Galilean moons orbiting Jupiter. This is too much for me. Lionel, what do you think about this?
Again, when I was talking about the asteroid, I went over. I said, "What about excuse me? What about planet mining? You have Titan. Their oceans is methane. Our
Hmm.
oceans is water. Methane can be used also in mining. It's plentiful. The entire planet, the size of Earth, oceans, is made of methane. How much is that going to go for? I think Io is a volcanic moon, which means whichever planet is closer. Well, if some of these moons were orbiting the solar system, and not uh, Jupiter, then they'll be planets themselves. But I think Io is closer to Jupiter, and that means the pull that Jupiter is creating on this planet and the other moon and other moons, making it volcanic, means they are mineable material there, methane, and then life doesn't mean it has to look like human beings, like Scholar Chang mentioned ear earlier today. Um, Humans evolved on Earth based on the conditions that's already here. So apply that to Titan. Whatever is there and is alive, be it smart, intelligent, or not, it evolved based on the conditions of Titan. So it may consider methane as normal. Water to us is normal. We need to drink it. We need it to live. There, methane, it needs methane to live. It's normal. It may look at us and say, "Wow, you drink that? Ugh, how can you drink that? Don't that kill you? It'll kill me." So these are the situations that we're talking about.
Mhm. They may have amphibious, what we consider to be amphibious on Earth. That's actually probably pretty normal for them, right? Um, I mean, it's so far fetched for us to think about it right now, but at the same time, there's only one way to figure this out, and that's to actually get up there. And I think Complex had laughed at me before when I said I don't want to go to the moon or Mars. We need to get to Titan. We need to see what's up there. Something is up there, and they're keeping it from us. So if we're gonna go anywhere, as Black people, forget about going to the moon. Forget about going to Mars. Titan is where we need to go. Europa is where we need to go.
Yeah, get there because you have these two huge planets, these outer planets, these jovial planets
Hmm.
that are huge. You capture one of them, and you say, "Well, Jupiter is belong to us," and the planets, the moons, which is dozens, if not 100 moons. Some that were recently, more that were recently discovered.
Hmm.
Oh man, talk about woof.
I'm telling you, it's got to be us. It's got to be the Black innovators on the ground that's actually going to think of a way to actually explore this mission. I mean, with all the tools that's available online right now, you have 3D modeling, you have data science application, data collection, um, artificial intelligence that you can use to model, machine learning as you can continuously pump data into that lake and actually feed the machine learning algorithm or the machine learning program with that necessary information. And then you start talking about the manufacturing of the equipment. Um, Not talking about the rocket itself, but the actual transponder, not the transponder, the lander, and as well as the satellite itself that's going to be paired up with it so that they can actually communicate with it. Cube-based satellites. We still have to do our no, we still have a hangout that we haven't gotten to yet. Um, that's based around cube-based satellites in space exploration. So there's a whole lot of things that's going to come out of this, and I can only imagine that if those who have the wherewithal would actually benefit the most out of it. But let me get to the next article. All right, this one is from physics.org. Asteroids are stronger, harder to destroy than previously thought. A popular theme in movies is that of an incoming asteroid that could extinguish fire, that can extinguish life on the planet, and our heroes are launched into space to blow it up. But incoming asteroids may be harder to break than scientists previously thought, finds a Johns Hopkins study that used a new understanding of rock fracture and a new computer modeling method to simulate asteroid collisions. The findings to be published in the March 15 print issue of Icarus can aid in the creation of asteroid impact and deflection strategies, increase understanding of solar system formation, and help design asteroid mining efforts. Quote, we used to believe that the larger the object, the more easily would it would break, because the bigger objects are more than likely to have flaws. Our findings, however, show asteroids are stronger than we used to think and require more energy to be completely shattered, says Charles Elmer, a recent PhD graduate from the Johns Hopkins University Department of Mechanical Engineering and the paper's first author. Researchers understand physical materials like rocks in laboratories at a laboratory scale, about the size of your fist. But it has been difficult to translate this understanding to city-sized objects like asteroids. In the early 2000s, a different research team created a computer model into which they input various factors such as mass, temperature, and material brittleness, and simulated an asteroid about a kilometer in diameter striking head-on to a 25-kilometer diameter target asteroid at an impact velocity of 5 kilometers per second. The results suggested that the target asteroid would be completely destroyed by the impact.
Yeah, hello.
Yes, sir.
Honestly, I'm not a asteroid physicist or anything, but I wonder, because they're harder. Some of these asteroids are harder to destroy, because the theory is, if they get close to Earth or they're on a collision course with Earth, they're too big. Just destroy them, or not even destroy them. Just knock them off their, like, knock them a little bit off their path. If they're harder, meaning they're stronger, sturdier. Imagine a scenario as this:
Mhm.
you have an asteroid that has iron ore, and you're building a building, and you know this iron ore is stronger than Earth iron ore. That would be more expensive, wouldn't it?
It, yeah, you're right in that assessment.
So, which means the building can be sturdier, withstand more, especially if you can do more with this iron ore, because we don't know, these asteroids have been subject to millions of years of space radiation.
Mhm.
Maybe it's another type of iron ore. Maybe it's another type of mineral. Maybe it's another type of gold. Maybe it's another type of platinum. Maybe it's a mineral that we have never seen on Earth, that's so scarce on Earth, or even not on Earth, but it's plentiful out there, which allows us to build buildings or roads or cars that is highly sustainable.
Maybe
It,
I think, yeah, but I
go
think
ahead.
yeah, I don't mean to interrupt you. I'm saying I think you might be asking a midget to ride a bull. If that makes any sense. It's not. you trying to mine that asteroid, you trying to capture that asteroid for one, and then trying to mine it for the ore that's in it. It's you only have so much time to actually do something like that, right? The time is very limited.
Which means the ore will be even more expensive because these asteroids go in an elliptical curve, elliptical orbit around the sun, meaning the window to mine it is small.
Mm-hmm.
So you're gonna shoot your robots out there, send your robots out there to mine it when the soon as it comes in that window. So obviously you're gonna have your robots out there sitting and waiting. Okay, here it comes attached, just drilling and mining all day and night until it reaches the window to go back out. Meaning that iron ore is going to be even more expensive because the time it takes to mine it and send it back is short.
Mm-hmm.
So, but going back to the article, these things are harder to destroy. Wow.
All right, we got one more article to go through. I know you're a geek too, so you probably saw the movie uh Armageddon, where they tried to place the TNT or
Yeah,
you
I
think that's
saw
a
it.
possibility?
Um, you wouldn't even have to do that because if it's on a crash course to Earth, just knock it off its course. Um, it depends on how hard the asteroid is because there's some asteroids out here that are soft, so maybe that. But then you get potential of if the chunks are too big, they won't burn up in the Earth atmosphere. So what I've been hearing, the simplest thing is to knock it off its course.
You said they got soft asteroids.
Yeah, because all asteroids are not equal. There's some that are hard, some that are softer. So, but yeah,
Yeah,
even
we
with
call 'em-
huh?
no, I was gonna say call them punk ass asteroids.
Right, right. That's the scientific name.
Hmm. That's a hood name.
Hey, that too.
There's a lot of feedback coming from you, I know. All right, this next article is from CoinTelegraph.com. Global demand for blockchain engineers up 517% in a year, says Hired. The global demand for blockchain engineers is up by 517% year over year, according to a report released by a recruitment company Hired on February 28th. The document also notes that the second fastest growing software engineering role is security engineer, which is what I am, with 132% growth. And the third is embedded engineer, up 76%. The blockchain engineer also consistently stayed among the top three most paid software engineering jobs in the various cities covered in the report. Specifically, blockchain engineering is the second most paid software engineering specialization in New York and London, the third in San Francisco Bay, and in Toronto, and the first in Paris. The average salaries that blockchain engineers receive is the formatted cities of $105,400 per year. The San Francisco Bay Area is the location where with the highest salaries, 155,000 on average, while Paris comes in last with blockchain engineer salaries averaging around $67,000. As CoinTelegraph reported in October last year, the average earning of a blockchain engineer have soared between $150,000 to $175,000 per year. A study published by recruiting site Glassdoor in the same month found that crypto and blockchain related job opportunities significantly increased in the United States in 2018, despite the slump in cryptocurrency prices. So this is good news for those who are into cybersecurity, software development, software engineering, IT, information technology. This is where the market has shifted into a very specialized, siloed, sort of niche factor area that can't necessarily be fulfilled by everybody. So, my advice to a lot of people listening to this is that you need to study blockchain ins and outs, um, Java, JavaScript, and Python for the most part. And I would probably say Node.js because I think Node.js is probably a lot more important at this point than just JavaScript alone. You can probably get by on JavaScript, but not as much as some of these emerging languages, such as Google's Go language, which is a mixture of JavaScript and other entities of Java and things of that nature. Lionel, you have anything you want to add to this?
Yes, this is excellent news because this is not something to do. This is not a stopgap. This is as I mentioned before, an industrial revolution, which means industrial revolutions normally last for at least a century. Meaning, you're going to have job security, and this industrial revolution is going to last longer. So you're going to have job security. Well, let me not say that job. It's a bad word. You're going to have opportunities to succeed like you've never succeeded before. Just knowing these skills. These are skills.
Mm-hmm.
Highly sought skills at that. And like you said, everybody can't man these skills, can't provide these skills because you're gonna hear a lot of people saying, well, why should I retrain? Why should I do this?
Mm-hmm.
You're going to hear a lot of people saying, and as a matter of fact, that's going to be the main talking point. That's what people are going to live by. Why should I retrain? Why should I do this? You should provide me a job. No, 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 no. So heed our advice, please.
Well, to be fair, in the IT industry, people don't really, beg for jobs and things like that, because it's really based on meritocracy. So either you can do it or you can't, and that will determine where you stand. So in terms of people making these transitions, a lot of people who are database developers or database engineers will probably be more likely to transition to a role like this. However, there are a lot of lazy IT people, and they're comfortable sitting in little cubicles, doing the same repetitive work day in, day out. And then what happens here is that their job gets outsourced to India or gets outsourced to China or something like that, and then they're scratching their head saying, "What happened?" You know, um, job cycles in IT are usually anywhere between 3.5 to 5 years. It's not uncommon for a person to be in a role for 5 years, doing the same exact thing. That's just the nature of how comfortable they are versus what the market is demanding. So if you were a help desk person working at Best Buy or some you know some some technology corporation just doing help desk work, if you're there for 5 years, there's a big problem. You're supposed to make that transition after 3 years. That's usually the life of a help desk person. It's usually anywhere between 6 months to maybe 18 months at best. But when you start talking about blockchain engineers and blockchain developers, that takes a lot of experience in the back end of maturation for your mental. So where you have to be able to see where the market is going to be in the next couple of years. I had already predicted that blockchain was going to be the way to go, so I had already began my transition. So I've been in security for cybersecurity for probably about next year will make 5 years. I've been in IT for 10 years, so I already know my transition is coming in the next 12 months. So I've already done, began the process to start studying for, blockchain certifications, getting my my master's in cryptography and blockchain. So
Yeah, I have no more comments on this one.
all right, this one is from openculture.com. 2,000 MOOCs, massive open online courses getting started in March. Enroll today. For your information, 2,000 MOOCs, massive open online courses, are getting underway in March, giving you the chance to take free courses from top flight universities with the help of Class Central. We've pulled together a complete list of March MOOCs, and below we've highlighted several courses that piqued our interest. The trailer above comes from the University of Edinburgh Introductory to Philosophy. Here are the following courses: How Music Could Change Your Life, Scandinavian Film and Television, Introduction to Machine Learning, Human Rights Theory and Philosophy, Moral Foundations of Politics, Mindfulness for Well-Being and Peak Performance, Reasoning Across the Disciplines, Introductory to Philosophy, Design Thinking, Conscious Capitalism. You know there's got to be a brother up in there with a dashiki. The Science of Beer, Ancient Philosophy, Journey of the Universe, The Unfolding of Life, The Psychology of Thrill Seekers, The Science of Well-Being. So, let me finish reading this. Here's one tip to keep in mind. If you want to take a course for free, select the full course, no certificate or audit option when you enroll. If you would like an official certificate documenting that you have successfully completed the course, you will need to pay a fee. This is no different than EDX. Lionel, you sent this in. What made you send this in?
Because we talk about edX, EDX, and Udacity, and this is another way for people to learn. And these are top tier universities, as the article stated. And if you want certifications in them, just pay a little price. This is, we talked about this. This is the way of the future of learning. You don't have to pay $150,000 to get into debt. There's alternative ways. This is this this like a big data dump.
Well, a lot of this stuff points back to EDX, anyways. If you look at the second page, so
yeah, there's more than one way to learn 2+2.
Mm-hmm.
Well, depending on the skill sets, right? I think majority of these courses, they have the software. Like, for example, they cannot offer organic chemistry or physical chemistry that would require like benchtop laboratory experiments. So I guess, yeah, primarily any technology course based, technology based courses, they can definitely offer that online. I guess eventually they have to get to a point of, we speak of augmented reality or virtual reality. Maybe they can get to a point where they can actually have some sort of laboratory environment simulation, something like that, where students can actually, conduct experiments and so forth, or some sort of simulation to conduct the experiments. Then they can offer more courses to expand it. But yeah, that's the way to the future. But as of now, I think majority of courses are still going to be on the technology side. Biomedical science side that's still going to catching up. Wait, no, did you take your course in the edX, or is a course here? I forgot.
I took a course in edX. There's a second part too I got to finish, but also I'm taking a course in Udacity, Intro to Programming.
Are you on the what do they call the signature track for the EDX for that course? I think it was signature track, right? Or are you on the certificate one?
Certificate one.
Okay. There's another one I think I mentioned before, the Corsair too. Besides EDX, there's another one, Coursera. I'm pretty sure you guys heard of it. I think
Yeah,
Coursera is
I
the
heard of
first
it.
one. Coursera was the first one to actually start offer the whole MOOC, massive online open courseware. MOOC, I think it's the first one. Then EDX, then now then everybody else. Is the open culture must be a new one then, right? Is the open culture the article you just shared, Mike? Was that through EDX or is like a compilation of all courses from EDX and so forth?
It's a compilation of EDX and Coursera.
Okay. Now
So
I thought it was a new platform.
Yeah, I thought it was a new platform too, but it seems like they disseminate what's free and then they kind of list it out and tell you, what you need to do to get it. But a lot of this stuff is stuff that's already available. They don't seem to be really offering anything. They just tell you where the free stuff is.
Yeah, I was about to say,
kind of like a Craigslist for education.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I think the most authoritative one is the one that called the MOOCuniverse.com. I think that's the one that that I know is the most comprehensive, most updated one. So I guess this open culture must be a like a secondary form of that, because I know MOOC Universe is the one that's supposed to be most comprehensive. That includes every single courses offered from all the university. Because they also because not all the open courses that are offered through EDX and Coursera. Some that are offered by the individual university. Like for example, Yale University has its own called open extension, and then of course we all know about MIT has its own open course where too. But the MIT one, I don't think is as update, because I think that one is just strictly lecture notes and lecture material platform. They don't have any what they call the certificates based course. It's not a live course basically. But yeah, I think so. I think in the MOOC universe is the one that's supposed to be most updated.
Yeah, I think it's actually a pretty good site. Like I said, it's kind of like a Craigslist for post-secondary education. Yeah, this is actually pretty cool because there's quite a few things on it. I just found that corresponds with some of my interests. So yeah, it points back to Coursera. Yeah, so this is really just a site that kind of catalogs all the free courses that's available, and then because I just clicked on one of the links and it took me to Coursera, and then it took me.
That's what I'm saying. Gotta be either Coursera or EDX, one of them,
right.
or Udacity, well, actually, that got me thinking. Is Udacity considered open course though? Because Udacity, you need to have.
You got to pay. You got to pay. I'm taking Udacity right now.
Yeah, because then I won't consider that as open courseware in that case.
Right.
Well, Khan Academy, they trying to do something similar to that right now. They want to have their own. Because I mean, you heard about that too, right, Mike? They're trying to have a little open their own little platforms that is similar to Udacity and so forth. But right now it's free, luckily. But who knows?
Well, because they started off free, right? Because they started off on YouTube, right? So they were already free before. I think they just got a lot of funding to go into their campaign, and now they expanded it across multiple countries. I think they're already all the way into Africa. So this is more. I think it's a lot of philanthropy work that's involved in this. So
I hope that all these open course, because the whole point of open course is supposed to be non-for-profit. I'm just like I said, I just hope they will keep up with the non-for-profit spirit, because
I think that they should be able to offer full degrees through these through EDX and Coursera. One of the problems is that they just started this on EDX a couple months ago, but they have about 5 or 6 different master's degrees programs on EDX.
Yep, I saw it too. Yep.
Yeah, so you can get a master's in computer science for like $10,000. If you had to do the same computer science master's somewhere else, you'd be paying $40,000, $50,000, $60,000 easy. I think Georgia Tech has a program up there. I think you can get your master's through them. It's a little bit of jumping through some hoops because you got to provide a letter for this, and you got to pass this exam. I forget the exact hoops you got to jump through, but it is quite a few hoops. I think the micromaster's degree is actually good because that leads you into the master's degree program of that same university. So, and from what I saw, it's not that expensive. So you're paying for 12 credits, which is $1,000 for 12 credits. You can't get 12 credits from any top tier university for $1,000. Impossible. That is impossible. There's no way you can do that.
Well, I think the reason they make a jump through hoop on that or those 5 master program because you are literally applying into the master program as if you're doing offline. So that's why they make a jump through hoop is because you are actually enroll. You're not just enrolling, an online course. You actually enroll in officially become one of their students. I think that's why they make a jump through hoop is because you're actually applying to the university. Whereas I think for the micro master program, like I say, you just basically obtain a certificate. So you're not really considered official students, but you are students. It's on the gray line. But I know for the 5 master program you just mentioned, yeah, you definitely have to be you definitely applying as you actually become official student. If you can even get a student ID from what learned. So and I don't think they have start offering those courses. I don't think they offer those programs yet. Right now they're still in the application stage, right? If I'm not mistaken, last time I checked.
Which master's degree program are you referring to? All of them?
Well, for example, Georgia Tech, the compute. I think it's electrical engineering one. I think was electrical engineering one's the Georgia Tech. Oh yeah, I think it's definitely the Georgia Tech one. The electrical engineering one is the one that's.
The Georgia Tech one I saw was computer science. I don't know. Maybe they did add some new stuff. That's probably something that we would probably have to do a whole hangout on. Just kind of kind of breeze through all the master's degree programs you can get online through there. But overall, I haven't actually completed a master's degree program through them. I should be able to complete it by next year. I did start one last year, but I haven't really kept up with it because I just have so many other things to do.
Well, you're in the Boston area, so you are surrounded. You don't even have to attend an online university. You could just. Didn't you say you live not too far from the any of this Ivy League schools and so forth?
I live about 7 minutes away from MIT.
Oh yeah, then go ahead and go straight to MIT as opposed to Georgia Tech. Well, although I'm not gonna lie, because I guess MIT is very rigorous, right? Do they have like?
Yeah, they're very rigorous, and they don't have anything that aligns with my career goals. So I'm a cybersecurity person, so they don't have an actual cybersecurity program.
No way, for real. You telling me the
hold on a second. They have one for the students that are already there, but if you're a working class professional, they don't have an actual cybersecurity program for adults, right? So that is it's two different types of focuses that they have in place. So I know they do have like the I forget the name of the school for MIT, but there's a section of the school that's dedicated for like master's degree programs for adults, but there's nothing there for cybersecurity.
Continuing education.
Not continue. No, the specific name of the school. I forget the name of the school. It's a not the Keller School. I forget the name of the school, but they have a specific school that's set up for like adults who are trying to transition from one career to another. I'm not in that. I'm not in that ballpark or in that market. So little different strategy for me. So EDX works for me because it fits within my self pace. I can go as I want, and I can kind of attend classes as I need to, and still get my degree. So, but yeah, I'm definitely gonna have to. We're definitely gonna have to do a hangout just on post-secondary education, through EDX and Coursera, and kind of look at some of the programs and stuff like that, and actually leverage that same site that Vinell posted because I think that's actually relevant too.
Yeah, that'd be a great idea. Called the MOOC Hangout. MOOC.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't have anything else. I think that we had a good hangout last night, Scholar Chang. You kind of missed it on BGS's hangout. So if you
Oh
go,
yeah. Well, I didn't get the link. I think that's if it's hosted by BGS. I don't think I get a link. I think it's only I think he only sent invitation link to you guys, which is fine. I mean, yeah, I catch the tail end.
Yeah.
First I thought the hangout was by you guys. No, offer through you, but then I mean hosted by you, but then I thought it was the master teacher. Yeah, I think yesterday you guys were talking about Africa, something like that. I only caught the 12 end of it. Something about African China or something like that.
Agriculture.
Oh, agriculture in China. Yeah, I heard something about the Chinese. I heard some part about the hacking, whatever, the hacking. That's so. There was one city say consists of millions of hackers, something like that.
I don't remember that part. You might have to re-listen to it again, but
yeah.
to really get the gist of it. But thank you all for joining us. We'll be back on Friday with economics, and then Saturday with Black Tech Talk on renewable energies.
Wait, what happened to geopolitics? Are we still doing geopolitics on Wednesday?
Yeah, we are, but we did geopolitics last night on BGS.
Oh, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so go back and check BGS Hangout for the geopolitics. Yeah. But, yeah, thank you all for joining us, and we are out. Peace.